controversial subjects with the facts can be tense, but we are a science here to make things make sense.
Unidentified flying objects, also known in the U.S. as unidentified aerial phenomenon.
Yeah, I didn't know that until looking into this. I
know. What? That's weird.
I feel that deep down I'm a conspiracy theorist, and so this is right up my alley.
That's so funny because deep down I'm critical of everything, and all I brought is like all the reasons why like UFOs are just like, you know, like
I'm not actually a conspiracy theorist, but what I enjoy, I just find things. It's just fun to learn about stuff. I like don't really believe in ghosts, but I am always scared of them. Anytime I'm in the dark in my basement, I'm like, okay, there's a ghost watching me. So I just have this weird attachment and connection, and like I don't believe in psychics, but like I've gone to a few just because I think it's fascinating.
No, I think that's good. Like I want to believe. But I would love to be like aliens came and UFOs, but then I'm just like reading all these scientists being like, it's probably the lightning above clouds. You know what I mean? Or just like it's like, oh.
Okay, well here's this. Let's talk about what prompted this episode in the first place.
Okay,
just
you explain that because again, I can tell the excitement in that voice.
Well, okay, so the reason this has gotten so much attention lately is because there was a leaked video from the U.S. Navy that showed this UFO, unidentified flying object. Why can't I say that? Unidentified
aerial phenomenon, if you want to be exact.
It was in San Diego in 2019.
It's always in San Diego.
Well, I think that it's off of an army base or something like that. So they were. It's been confirmed by the Pentagon. Even Obama talked about it, addressed it in an interview, being like, "Yeah, it's real. That stuff happens. We don't know what it is necessarily." He's not saying it's aliens. He's not saying anything about it.
That's the big jump. The aliens.
Sure, but not everyone's saying aliens. But it's something interesting.
Yeah,
it's acknowledging that there is like high level footage of these things that have been tracked and categorized.
And know what I never thought of?
What?
It's like they're admitting that there's unidentified seemingly flying objects, right? Like it's like that is so interesting because like when you say that out loud, you're like, okay, could be a drone,
obviously,
like that's an unidentified. But when we're all taught that a UFO is an alien, like we're taught the correlation. So it was weirdly when I was sitting down to study this, I was like, oh my God, that was like the biggest takeaway for me.
Was that
like,
it's just they don't know what it is.
Yeah, and then you start to read all the studies in all these institutions, and you're like, of course it's important to figure out when there's unidentified flying objects anywhere.
Oh yeah.
But it's the jump to aliens that I realized was something that was so ingrained in me.
People get excited. I think that's why they use unidentified aerial phenomenon
because it helps you be like the words here.
The other words been so associated in culture with aliens. The only other thing I'll say, the videos are really cool. You can find them online. There's like a couple that just came out, but there's a handful that have been leaked and then confirmed that the government was like, these are legitimate videos. They're not faked. Those phenomenon were caught on camera. But they're often not allowed to say anything because it's like they can just confirm it's real. CBS had also just had a 60-minute segment where they interviewed 3 former U.S. Navy
60 minute or on CBS is 60 minutes, probably that.
I thought like that's what I meant.
Yeah, no, it's just funny when you're like a 60-minute, like you're very specific, like a 59,
quote unquote 60
53 minutes
segment.
with commercials. But you're like, no, yeah, I can picture
I meant the
60
TV show.
Minutes.
So these pilots were interviewed and they claimed to have seen these phenomenon firsthand.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's
lots
of speculation. This happened like in the last week, and what people are excited about.
Do a video on that.
I want to really badly. It's
okay,
like, I don't have time for all these.
Thumb in that.
So Congress is expected to be receiving a sweeping unclassified report on UAPs sometime next month. So
this is all
people
so
think it's
American
all culminating.
And weird.
Well, it was weirdly part of the coronavirus package. Like, it's like part of that deal was that they had to be like briefed. It doesn't mean the public will know, but it's that.
No, what? We're like through the Trump years where it was like America was like clearly on fire. Now we're back to classic America being like, just wait a month and we'll give you the most intense information. That the Pentagon, remember that? The Pentagon that knows is gonna unveil, and let me guess, there's gonna be an army base in Nevada, and you're just like, oh, okay, we're back to like classic America.
It's fine, but who knows, Greg? It might be aliens.
Yeah,
okay?
we're on different. You're allowed to argue with me on this
because it's fun to fantasize. There are lots of thoughts of it just being being, drones, all these things. But the bigger conversation is national security. What if it is other countries with technology that are spying on America?
Yeah, national security if you're American. Again, we're Canadian.
Yeah, but there are other countries that see these kinds of things.
Yeah, true.
It's not just America.
I know. I didn't realize Europe was so into this. This seemed like a very American thing. Then I find
all
out
over
Europe's
the world.
very into this.
Even in Japan, they get sightings of UFOs everywhere, girl. Everywhere.
Okay, I thought it does.
So-
it has American energy.
So clearly you're a skeptic.
I am very much a skeptic. Okay, wait. I want to talk about. I got a little bit of juice. I got a little bit of juice.
Some alien juice.
It's a little bit skeptical, actually, now that I think about it. But it's like, so $22 million was spent on this thing called the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program. And it ended in 2012. But it was really hard to find information about that program because of a variety of reasons. One being like it's a lot of money that like it doesn't necessarily lead to anything. So I think a lot of taxpayers might have been like, wait, what? Like, couldn't you like give us food stamps? I don't know. We're like starving in America. So there was a bit of that vibe. But then it came out that that program existed, and that really led to a lot of like conspiracy vibes. Like, oh, they didn't tell us,
right?
But they were
must be
looking. What did they know? But
something.
really, it was like boring bureaucracy where they're like, this is actually a pretty like this program's a lot of money, and they're not. So I just thought that was kind of interesting because you're like, oh, it's like what does the government know? Like there's a lot of that energy of like,
yeah,
oh wait, you have an advanced aerospace threat identification program and you didn't tell us why? But really, like the answer is like,
yeah. I think on the grand scale, conspiracies in general, especially when they're poised to be that many people engaged. Like when people think that climate change is a conspiracy, or even that coronavirus, like, and all these scientists all over the world are somehow in on this one conspiracy. It's just so unreasonable that many people could be involved in something. There's actually, I don't know if it has a name, but there's formulas and calculations to show how unlikely it is once you get even 100 people involved on one secret, how hard it is to keep that secret.
Also, I'm like, have you watched Veep? Like the government's a mess. Like I honestly think that like if you could go and watch the government, they're all stressed, pulling their hair out, being like, is that what we do? Like it's interesting because conspiracy theory people, there's an interesting, hear me out on this, lack of trust.
They're
in
coming
the
for you,
government.
girl.
No, I know they are.
They're coming right now.
Okay, there's a lack of trust in the government. It feels as the energy of people who believe in conspiracy theories. But then at the same time, you're like thinking that the government is so organized that they're like doing.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? I'm like, no, like it's actually like you should stick to the lack of faith in the government because it's a mess.
Go into government and you'll probably realize that it's just
like,
not possible.
There's no way that they can all be working together on this thing.
I mean,
that you're like the one person who knows about. Like, there's no way.
Right. Why would you know when no one, not that no one does. Okay. I would say the reason people start to self-affirm and have that cognitive bias is because every now and then in history, there have been moments where the government has revealed, different governments around the world reveal that they were hiding something, or
even like this
or
program.
Companies for profit were doing things out of malice because it made them more money.
Oh, that
right?
for sure happened.
And so I think that makes people less trustworthy in general because they have that bias to say, oh, it's happened before, so it's not like it's impossible for these things to be kept hidden.
Also, I love that it's like, so you think aliens came and then we're just like, I kind of like peace out on that mess. Like, it's like, you know what I mean? Like they didn't like,
would know, yeah.
They just were like, they came in like beep, boop, beep, 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 and then like left.
But
I mean, that's a fun thing to
knows?
believe.
I mean, Carl Sagan has a really interesting.
You like love UFO in this moment. I'm like,
well, I mean, Carl Sagan is like one of the most respected, loved science
figures
of all
like,
time.
What did he say?
What did he say? Why don't you?
Aren't real.
No, he was talking about fourth dimensional beings and how he talks about what they would even seem to us in the same way that a two-dimensional being we could not comprehend what a two-dimensional being could not comprehend 3D space. And so if there are four-dimensional beings,
exactly, so then it wouldn't show, but it wouldn't show up on a screen as a little beep beep beep.
No, I know
that's not how that works.
Yeah, he's not saying
no, but that's
he's
interesting.
just playing a thought experiment of like even if they existed, there may be a world and maybe these apparitions or maybe these things that we're seeing are representations of something that we just can't
or they're
understand.
like there's such a difference in the laws of nature and the laws of physics there that like we can't even see them or something like that. That's a fun thought game. Mm-hmm. I love a thought game. The universe is huge.
Keen to talk about my thing, but maybe what's yours about?
Okay, so maybe like you want to go critical first.
Yeah, well mine's not uncritical.
Okay, I'll just get mine out of the way.
Okay.
So it's like essentially a lot of scientists like Sarah Seegers and astrophysicists at MIT. It's like what people sometimes don't get about science is that we have phenomena that remains unexplained. Like that is just like something that when you really get
reality.
into the understanding of astrophysics, which I can only understand through like Genius Katie Mack books and like, different like podcasts about physics. It's like when you start to get there, you really are toying with these ideas of phenomenon that we don't yet understand. And like we saw that with Muons recently. It's like, okay, whoa, now you've thrown a wrench in everything.
I thought you said Mulan. We saw that with Mulan.
We saw that with the new live action Mulan.
Let's get down where they were-
Absolutely incredible. No,
Did you watch that?
no, I heard it wasn't amazing, so I didn't watch it.
I would watch it though.
It was like $30, and I was like, I ain't giving Disney that money.
But it's like
I already give Disney enough
We
of my
can
money
find
for
a
like
way.
what? Like anything I buy probably leads back to Disney.
I actually have this really secret way called streaming where you can just watch absolutely anything.
Actually, yeah, I'm about to download Paddington 2. So, don't come get me, Trudeau. Sorry. But what was I saying?
Oh shit.
We side noted. Oh no, it was like I love your face. You're like, don't look at me.
Yeah, it's like you think I have the memory capacity to know?
Sorry, it was like when you understand astrophysics, and I'm not saying this as me because I like don't understand.
Yeah.
But when I like sort of get grasps through these really intelligent people, and this is a really intelligent person saying there is phenomena we don't understand, and you
Right.
get used to living in a world,
Okay.
and you don't extrapolate to like aliens so quickly. She was
Right.
just trying to like, it was just like very.
Yeah.
I enjoyed reading what she had to say because it was kind of like, okay, cool. That makes sense to me. But what she was saying, and Space Gal also talked about this, was that sprites are these lightning bolts above clouds that like...
Sprites is also what you call those cute little like 2D pixelated GIFs. Isn't that what a sprite is?
I'm like,
I'm gonna
girl,
look
the
that up.
fountain drink when you go to the movies?
I want to
Like-
look up what a sprite. I thought it was like a spirit and also...
You mean like when you're... Wait, I'm actually...
Keep talking. I'm looking this up.
I love how she
Oh, a
just... so-
sprite, a type of legendary creature including elves, fairies, and pixies.
Oh my god, cool! Because I was like, he just Googled Sprite, and a bunch of photos of Sprite
Of
came
the
up, like the
drink.
drink, and I was like, good luck, bud. But no, you found it.
Sprite, computer graphics, a smaller bitmap composite onto another by hardware. Oh, is that what I meant? I actually don't know.
Go with it. Go with it. That sounded like what
okay,
you meant.
anyway.
That sounded like what you meant.
Okay, so a sprite is what in the context of
It's
what
like lightning above clouds, which
Okay.
like in many like cases can like show up on radars and look really weird and like,
I want to be like, oh, I saw a sprite.
high altitude balloons, which were used like Google was using those trying to get internet to everyone, where they're like, we're trying to get internet for everyone so that we help the world. It's like, girl, you just want more money. Venus sometimes is like so bright in weird ways that like a lot of fighter pilots like think it's
Sorry.
something.
I missed the premise of this. These are just possibilities for different things that people are seeing and thinking
Yeah, like-
are or are the
yeah,
UFO.
it's like the unexplained phenomenon. This is a bit of the explanation.
okay.
And then there's also
Doesn't sound so unexplained.
okay, so then there's this program that I was like reading through their studies, and they had all of these UFO sightings. It's so crazy saying that, 'cause like I just assume aliens, but we're not talking aliens. We're talking unidentified flying objects that then they were able to chalk up to like a high altitude balloon, for example, or involving stars,
Right.
aircrafts. In some cases, like spy planes is like what they thought. I'm like, well, that seems like another version of a conspiracy theory, but I don't know. And then but in the end, 701 were still unexplained. So this program was there's still just times where they're like, we don't
Right.
know what this is. But now they're like, there's so much more use of like commercial drones and
Yeah.
like there's just so many ways that this can be challenging. But I'm not trying to just like shit on this fully. I'm just like trying to bring in some of that scientific critical thought about like
I think
aliens, like were they here? I don't know.
I think
I
there's
don't-
a lot
I
of
wanna
people.
believe, but
There's like a mix of people. There's the people on the extreme side of things who just think that it's all aliens and that we're constantly being watched and the government's fully aware and all that. But I think there's
I
probably
love that.
there's
though.
probably lots of people who are also more reasonable and go, yeah, I bet almost the vast majority of those things are explainable things if we could have better resolution video or more.
It's more fun. Like this is the part of me that I hate. I'm like, it's so much more fun to just be like, yeah, like aliens visited, and like that was cool. And like I just think in general in life, like even like believing things, like I'm just like doing like this like weird interesting course thing, and part of it is just that it's like some people just like believe in like these crazy things, but at least it's like something.
Isn't that like the premise of humanity? It's just like to believe in like crazy things like a higher power, like humans,
yeah, but then it's
have
like
a natural tendency
science
towards
is like a really it's like science challenges that in so many ways. Like it does, like the whole way that my worldview has been like built. But then I'm like, of course it's not all science, because here we are, like these are all like science vibe people on the military. We know so many people who believe in science who are fully religious and believe like in heaven and hell. And
we
it's
must
like,
say,
I don't know
and this will tie to my research, a lot of scientists would say there's an extremely high probability that life exists in this universe, and
sure.
possibly and probably intelligent life. Whether or not it's here is a way bigger question.
Yeah.
But
That's what
I think that's
so
what's
far
interesting
away.
is when we talk about the science and the probability of it, there's lots of legitimate scientists that would say, oh yeah, there's like probably intelligent life in this universe.
Okay. Well, yeah, I know.
Yeah,
that's
and that-
true.
do you want
So
me
it's
to
like
just talk
that's
about-
yes, do that, because I'm like I do believe in alien life. I just don't believe that they came here and went beep beep boop on the little map and then flew away.
So that's not what anyone's saying in what
Okay.
I'm about to talk about, but that's not to say that that's not
So
the
you're
case.
talking about what?
I know why I'm like so scared of the UFO crowd like coming after us. And I was like, but I'm not saying it's not real.
Yeah, you know something I don't. Like I'm like, wait, is that something we have to worry about?
I don't think so. I'm just
Okay,
joking.
I really hope not.
No, I think it's unsettled. Like I think this is, to me, something like climate change has a clear body of evidence, and this remains in the realm of like mostly not enough evidence. So to me, it's kind of fun to play around in it, because there are some cases that clearly are balloons and whatever. There are some cases that remain unknown,
Yeah.
and it's not so easy to be
Wait,
like, well,
Mitch,
for sure.
you have to make a video on this because that's so cool,
Yeah, I think it's fascinating.
and it leads into an interesting theory about like what science even is.
Before I say this, there's a YouTube channel I was going to bring up because it reminded me of what you were talking about. What he does is he takes these videos and explains them, and it helps you understand why things look a certain way from a physics perspective.
Yeah.
And he doesn't explain all of them. Sometimes he's like, the resolution's just not good enough. It's hard for you to know.
That's interesting.
But there
and
are
that's the
times
fun
when he's
part.
like, on an infrared camera, every object has a glow like this, and then he like uses physics, and he'll show you diagrams to be like, in this particular video it bobbles and it goes into the water, but he's like explaining why he thinks it's going behind the horizon based on the way the light's traveling.
Okay, wow, that's
It's like so cool. And then there's another one where it looks like the UFOs are flying so fast over water, and he's
like, that's a mosquito really close
no,
up.
he explains like it's an illusion. It's like if a hanging ball is here and you're a camera moving around it this way, it's actually not moving, but the whole background is shifting.
Yeah.
So it makes it, there's just all these ways that things look one way from a perspective, but are completely different from a different
Okay, Mitch,
perspective.
you have to do this video. That's all
Okay.
so interesting.
So what's gonna spook you now is something called the Fermi paradox. Have you heard of her?
I've heard of her. I've heard of her, but keep going.
Enrico Fermi.
Enrico Fermi, you want the pasta?
So basically, I'm gonna like mostly look at my notes because I'm just like, I don't want to mess this up. It's not that complicated. But ultimately, it's that, you know, there's a pretty high estimated probability for the chance of extraterrestrial civilization.
Yeah, okay, I can
Because
get
the
that.
universe is so vast, and
it's growing, expanding.
but the paradox is we have such a lack of evidence. So even though theoretically we think, okay, so there's something called the Drake equation, which estimates in the Milky Way there should be around at like 1,000 to 100 million civilizations.
What?
This is like the Drake equation has been used by both proponents and anti-proponents. What's the word?
Not the proponents.
The opposites. Who want to prove that there's alien life. Whether
Curious who Drake is, because we here in Toronto.
I think
only
he's
really
very,
know
very
one.
famous.
Okay, so it's not like headlines.
Anyway, so the basic premise is, okay, there's billions of stars in the Milky Way. So very high
crazy.
probability
Oh my
that
God,
some
that's
of these
gonna freak
stars
me out.
have Earth-like planets, are the same distance from suns, could sustain life in the same way that Earth has, and could have developed long before Earth. And so all these factors start to come together. It's like, should Earth have already been visited by extraterrestrial civilizations, or at least their probes, because Earth is like maybe not the first one, if there's literally billions of other opportunities for this to have happened. And
Okay,
so
wow.
based on that paradox, there's a lot of theories around, okay, if we think it's actually pretty likely that there's other intelligent life.
Well, we can't count out that that's not a UFO, that's an alien.
Right. And we start to ask like, okay, well, why haven't we more explicitly got evidence? Yes, we have videos that people catch of UFOs, but there's no official, like, we've put out signs where we have giant satellites that try and capture
Oh, you mean in general, why have we not?
Yeah, it's not
Just them visiting us on an infrared thing. You mean like
yeah,
in
it's
all
like
of science.
humans have looked into the universe and tried to find
but not
evidence.
for that long. Oh, but you mean the new telescopes and how incredible we
Yeah,
can-
telescopes and just like
Yeah.
listening to the like. There's that one moment that's captured in history where they heard like a loud noise.
But it's
remember,
so-
and they're like,
the universe is so big.
But they're saying billions of possibilities. For
But that
other
still
life.
doesn't, for me, feel like that many in the universe. That is so big.
But we're talking about the Milky Way right now.
Oh, girl, we are just in a
Just
galaxy.
Milky Way. So that's just one freaking
Oh, wow.
galaxy.
And that is a dense galaxy. When I
And-
look at the stars and I'm like, that's all stars?
I know. It's
Are you kidding
truly,
me?
it's milk.
Wait, I need to say something personal. We were anxious before this podcast.
yeah.
Does this not make you be like, why the hell was I anxious about the things I was anxious about, which were so mundane? Because to me it does. Sorry. if I
Like
put that in you.
it does, but then sometimes it doesn't.
But I'm talking about that scenario where it's kind of like we had like a weird like work thing happen. Like how the hell
now
can
I'm
you
thinking about
pair?
aliens? Yeah.
Or no, not aliens.
Or
Thinking
just
thinking about the fact that
grandeur.
the freaking Milky Way galaxy is that big. Like your problems don't matter.
Right, but they do to me, girl.
I know, but okay, then
We've
think
been
about
through
think
this.
about
I'm the
okay,
main
like I'm not
character.
I don't want to get too personal, but think about like what the issue was, right? The issue, let's just like make up a scenario. Let's say it's like
We ran out of lemons.
we ran out of okay, well then make lemonade, hun. Like, we've already had that metaphor. I'm kidding. So
Not when you run out of
oh
lemons.
yeah,
It's actually
when you
big.
run out of lemons, make lemonade. It's like I actually can't. That's a horrible metaphor. Sorry. Okay, sorry. Like let's just say you lost $5,000 randomly. Like some glitch happens in Visa in the bank. They're like, we don't know where it went. Like that's pretty devastating. Then for me, it's like okay, but then I look at that scale and I go like, what's money?
But you
I go,
have to
I'm only alive for this long. What I'm just like, I just need to like enjoy. I'm just breathing right now, like because that's all that matters. Because we're all gonna die, and like money is like money as a concept. When you zoom that far out, like isn't a thing.
Yeah, but it's still a thing here. Like you can zoom out,
no,
but
this
it's
is so
still
okay. I thought you were just gonna be like, yeah, but it's like okay, maybe
No,
I'm like.
I
weird with
agree.
this
Money's
stuff.
a weird one.
But like I'm telling you, like that is so helpful for me, and I'm not. I don't know why I'm forcing this.
It
on. It's
actually
like,
freaks
no.
me
Okay,
out
maybe it's not
more than it
helpful.
helps.
Okay, yeah,
Because
but- okay.
I don't think there's some ultimate universal purpose and galactic experience that I should be having, and that I'm part of like some bigger purpose. And so yes, zooming out, I often do go, yeah, like I don't actually think there's a reason. And I think it's just a bunch of random chance and I'm just like a tiny speck in all of this and my problems don't matter. But then I immediately come back and go, but I'm here. So it's not that they matter more, but it's like it's unavoidable. I'm living this existence. Yes, I can imagine how great it is and how big it is and all those things. And yes, in the grand scheme of the universe, my problems don't matter. But that's like saying, you know, my heart's just one small part of my body, but if it stops working, it's dead.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like it's still
But then
has
I
its
don't,
own autonomy.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's
I
like, I'm
don't
like,
think
that's
my
fair.
body and my life has a specific purpose to the universe, but I still think it has one to me.
Yeah, no, I get that. Like you have a strong way of making that not be the thing it does for me,
But
which is fine. And I'm like,
when I look at stars, it does help me get to that place. Sometimes to go, you know what? Nothing's that big a deal. There are things that are big deals.
this
but
is so funny. Like feel like I'm like watching you spiral.
no, because I don't want to diminish. There are a lot of people who have a lot of suffering in this world. And
Oh
I-
yes, yeah.
And I don't think that you can
interesting.
just tell someone to look at the stars.
No, I
Most of our problems you can do.
yeah. I think what I'm saying is okay. Okay, well, a lot just happened, but you're right. So what I'm saying is like, I think that does that thing for me. And I think sometimes I say, guys, like I love learning science. Like one of the reasons I fell in love with science was in grade 10 when we just kept turning a page and it kept zooming out. And I was like, oh my God, we're explaining why we're here. Like that's the coolest thing I've ever learned in my life. So like, and then I extrapolate that to my personal anxieties while I'm alive. And I force it on people, sort of. I go like, but look, we zoom out. And now what you just taught me is like, I shouldn't just force that on people. It literally doesn't work for some people. Like that's just something I can just hold close to me and be like, that's a cool thing.
And you're ultimately still finding a purpose from that. You're going, the universe is so great, and my suffering right now is not that significant, but I should appreciate the universe.
Yeah, exactly.
And that becomes your focus, which is, I think it's still a good, useful
tool.
And
I think that's why I like love science. It's like honestly kind of like spiritual for me in a way. So I'm just gonna be like, okay, Greg, hold that deer. I don't need to be like, you don't do that. Like this is like a weird thing.
Yeah, I think it gives some people existential dread.
Yeah,
actually.
And it does for me too. And I'm talking only when we're freaking out about issues. And then it was interesting for you to say like some people in this world like maybe believing in UFOs as aliens is like helping them because it's a hard life to live, and like believing in something more might be helpful. And for me, you're right. I think I have trivial problems, and so it's very easy to look at the stars.
We mostly have trivial problems in our life.
You can't look at the stars and relax if you have like serious
if your basic needs aren't met.
Yeah,
there are lots of people in this world who are
so many humans.
Exactly. But I do agree for people like us, and probably many who are listening to the podcast or watching it, that it can be a useful tool when you're stressing out about something that clearly you know,
run outside and you stare at the sun. I'm kidding.
The best star of all.
You stare at the sun and you stare at the star and you burn your dang retinas until you feel something.
Let me finish my Fermi paradox bit, okay? So basically, some of the theories as to why we haven't heard from aliens, even though they are likely, is that intelligent alien species just haven't developed advanced technologies, right?
Yeah,
like there's lots of
we're intelligent and we haven't gone that far into space,
right? But we haven't been around that long.
Yeah,
you know, in the scheme of the universe, in the time that it's like, there's lots of other chances for other ones.
I'm like, we've been around a long time. But like, no, you're right.
That colonization is not the cosmic norm.
Whoa!
That like
I love that.
Isn't that interesting?
We're such fucking colonizers.
But maybe we won't be able to be. Like maybe no one really ever gets to that point.
But like,
we would be if
I'm that part of skeptic. Like when everyone's just like praising Elon Musk, I'm like, come on, have some critical thinking skills, people. You think that guy's getting to Mars?
What other ones? There's lots of theories. Another one is that it's the nature of intelligent life to destroy itself. And so as a result, any intelligent life ends up collapsing. Or we haven't properly listened. But there's one.
Okay, these are all so funny and intense.
There's
every single one is blowing
massive Wikipedia page.
And the best part is we haven't properly listened.
No. The scariest one.
Oh, okay.
So this is when I know I'm kind of conspiratorial, because it's always like the scary ones that hook me in. I'm like, this is like hooked me in. Basically, it's that communication is dangerous, and alien species, if they're out there, know this and are like, if we communicate and there's a shitty alien species out there, they're coming to kill us.
This is so Hollywood. This is so funny. I mean, it's not wrong.
Well, think about it. When different civilizations on Earth met for the first time, did not go well. They fight, they war, they steal.
Your hands right now, he's literally going in my face, like literally like get out my face. I mean, it's true. Like I'm not denying that those are
There's I forget the name of the theory, but there's a specific one that there are types of alien species, like the likelihood in the versions of species is that there are the ones that would focus on extermination, because if you let another life form get significantly intelligent enough, you risk your own safety in the universe.
Yeah.
And so
I love that we're sending out those like stupid probes of like, let's send a Mozart song, and like aliens like, well, we ain't responding to that fucking Mozart tune, and
they're like whenever the bad aliens find it, they're fucked.
Imagine they're so intelligent that it hits their ears and they go, Mozart. Born like they're just like, no Mozart, and then they're just like, we ain't going there.
Oh my god.
Or they take a little gander through their really good telescope and they look and they're like, oh, they're burning themselves out with climate change. So, okay, yeah, that's normal. They put it back and they're just like, they're gonna do the kill themselves, too intelligent to kill themselves room. We're just gonna chill over here.
Like they may be just watching us and being like, oh, they'll take care.
Yeah,
of
and it's so funny to think like, oh, the alien came in a UFO to watch us. I'm like, girl, if it got to you in a UFO, it definitely had a telescope good enough to just look from further away.
That's true.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it didn't show up and go like with its like weak, measly eyes. I'm like, if that boy figured out how to get here.
Yeah, I have a hard time believing. So I find that UFOs are so fascinating, but especially as we've had way better phones on everyone now, and we don't really get great footage of UFOs. We haven't had one solid like, yes, sorry, I won't say there's not any solid events that have, like, there are events where there's been multiple lights in the sky and multiple people capture it, and everyone's like, is it flares? Is it what? We don't really know. But you think through all this time that we've had cameras, and now through all this time that we've all had cell phones, someone would have caught a video or a crashed probe or UFO that we just would have been like, okay, that's nuts.
I have a question, and you would know this more than your what was so intense like that. No, and you know, but isn't that kind of like, aren't there like full like shows, and aren't there like full TikToks that are like and then they just go like, this person caught this on this cell phone, and then they have like a doctored image of UFOs. Like, are people not out there
low quality always?
Yeah, but are people not out there almost like saying that, and people who love the UFO alien things actually think that's happening en masse, or is that something I've made up in my head?
No, I think you're right. I think like, there's subsets.
I feel like on my TikTok, like when it was learning about me, I would like sometimes get like
right.
And it'd be like, the UFO that no one wants you to know captured on this 12-year-old girl's iPhone. And then I'd like went by it, and then it was like, oh, you're gay. And then it like sent me like other
realized that.
It's like, oh, you like squirrels and birds. Yeah, you know what I mean? Not UFOs.
I think that there are some people who get deep into this and think and fall into the conspiracy side of things. And there are shows that prey on that. There are entire shows about UFOs. And
are
aliens.
There shows like that's what I mean?
100%. There's shows where they take
Discovery Channel.
They are, and History Channel, and there's shows that
channels are weird.
They take so many of those channels are like, it actually seems problematic.
Yeah, and no, and like even like I guess we should do. Oh, right, we need to do an episode on Shark Week.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Like, you know, okay, I'm writing that down because I'm like, there's just like those channels are so interesting because
like,
we have to exist in science world, and I never watch them. But then I'm like, that's like that controls such a narrative of what science is. And I'm like, are they like conspiracy theorists?
Well, I think they know that pulls in a lot of people. God,
that's crazy.
There are definitely programs that just highlight individuals who say they've been abducted. And there's and then there's programs that go, let's look at ancient art that has UFOs featured in it. I mean, like that shit hooks me in. I'm like, why does that Egyptian painting...
Wait, I'm like, I want Discovery. I love that one.
Greg, there's literally like ancient Egyptian paintings and there's UFOs in the sky.
Okay, I can't believe... Okay, first of all, I just want to say, you become so funny and gay when you talk about aliens. Cry. And it's like I did not know this is the type of passion that you had. Second of all, I'm hooked immediately. Should have led with that one, Mitchell.
Well,
I'm kidding.
I don't know if they're verified because these shows just want to hook you.
No, I know.
And all the experts, you're like, you are not an expert.
And I just like cannot believe that Discovery Channel is our peer in a weird way.
I don't know which. I know History Channel does it a lot, and it's weird that History Channel.
It shouldn't be allowed to be called History Channel.
No, it shouldn't. It's an awful channel. They just make the worst content.
Oh my god!
Let's come for History Channel.
Okay. Sorry,
kind of goes that way, but so what I'm saying, I'm the perfect example of this. I've heard about these things. I've watched a bunch of shows about them, not too deeply involved, and I'm like, it's such a cool idea that it's really compelling and it grabs me, but I don't know the evidence. I'm like, okay, like I actually don't know. I don't remember what Egyptian painting. I just remember one time there was like people, there was like probably an entire program trying to convince you that aliens made the pyramids.
Also, now I'm thinking about teaching, and I'm like, like at a certain point, like these kids do not listen to you about science. Like I do remember when I was teaching, I would just be like, yeah, for sure we could live on Mars. This is what the colonies would look like. And they'd be like, really? And I'd be like, I would just like, you'd exaggerate. Yeah. Like I could see myself panicking with those like really problematic kids and be like, okay, fine. Aliens. And then just like trying to like figure out how you like work like big, you know what I mean? This pyramid thing. And then you bring it in and then you actually teach them real science, kind of like an ASAP Science episode. It's like, but there's just something funny there where I'm like, who knows along the way? You could have also had like a really vibey teacher who you really liked, who was trying to play with those ideas to teach you other things, because if they didn't do that, you would just like honestly like pick your nose and like play with your eraser or something.
That's true.
And not listen.
And it's just so much more compelling in a way that I'm not saying is good. It's so much more compelling to have a narrative about another ancient alien species that keeps an eye on humans. And there's these subtle clues throughout history that we can find, as opposed to talking about just like aberrations and illusions and phenomenons, which can be really interesting, but on the whole is like very technical, and the answer is so unfulfilling.
So like this is what I mean. Like I'm like, I genuinely want to believe, and I genuinely don't. You know what I mean? It's like,
so you don't believe there's what?
I don't believe that any UFO sighting, including the ones that we have now been like unveiled, that any of the things that have been picked up in some of the videos that I watched and all the scientists that I read who were trying to explain what they were, I don't believe that the ones that we can't identify, like the 701 in the study I read, are not something explainable and have nothing to do with aliens. That's what I believe. I'm telling you. But it doesn't. And I believe it so much that I don't even want to. Like, I just wish my body could be like, one of those was. And then I'd actually be like, that's fucking sick. But I just don't.
I think when I stop and I'm rational, I am the same as you. Because to me.
Oh, really? Damn it. I thought you were going to be like,
no, because as I try to play more rational, I think if it was real, it just means so much more. Like, what? How do I explain this? Like, you can't just have one alien orb that's real, or just what they're just sending orbs and just watching us, and we are never able to capture them.
And I love it. It's like you have a word for it, and it's orb.
And
like it's
only the government has a communication and a hold and is saving some of their ships, and never has a pedestrian civilian come across an actual UFO crash or whatever. That I don't know. Like, a news crew has never captured it in their lives. You know?
Yeah.
I just feel like
I do know.
If one is real, the implications are so massive that there is an alien species either watching us, visiting us, and to me, it just feels less likely that's all so secretive.
So
but the only difference for me is that I am like, it's not. I don't think it's impossible. Like,
you give a lot more weight to that, which I like.
I'm like agnostic alien. I think it's definitely possible.
And I think
if the government came out and was like, we literally have alien bodies, and some of these things, yes, most of them are not, I'd be like, okay, like I kind of thought that could have happened, but I honestly didn't think that was likely. But now you've said it, okay.
Or of course I would think that if, like, you know what I mean?
Okay, but yeah, of course if the government said it,
I'd be like, okay, whoa, wow,
yeah,
whoa.
So I don't know what else could tip me to that side.
No, I think you said it without saying it. Like, I think you just like were processing out loud, but it's like from what I heard from that is you're like, if I really stop to think about it, I become quite skeptical, but you really enjoy not being skeptical and really leaning into this, and it gives you a thrill, and that's kind of cool.
Yeah, and
that's
I'm
a
like,
cool way
and
of
one day
dealing with
we
it.
might be like, okay,
yeah, and we have
proof of aliens, but I just don't think
sure.
the hundreds and hundreds of things that haven't been quantified as clearly something else. I just don't think those are aliens.
Know what it makes me think about? Something I was trying to process recently is I really like knowing things. Like, I have anxiety when I don't know things, which is why I love science. Because like even in high school, I loved, and math, just like knowing that the answer was right. And I had a hard time with like English and like what felt to me like opinions from a teacher. I'm like, was she tired? Like, did she like it because like, was she in a bad mood and then she gave me a bad mark? Whereas like, I can see why this answer is wrong because it's like a biochemistry question where I didn't balance the equation, right? Mm-hmm. And this is how you do it. And I think that for me, I'm more interested in the things we know.
Yeah, that's
so
fair.
It's like
so
this
you don't even
falls.
Want to
I'm
time.
like, of course, there's so many things we don't know, and there's so much that we do that I'd rather like. That's where my focus goes. Where I can see a lot of people, it's the opposite. It's like they'd rather be like, "Ooh, let's play with what we don't know," and I'm like, that's really interesting too. It's just my brain is primed a different way.
Yeah, and I think that there are lots of things through scientific history that we didn't know for a long time, and then we went, "Holy shit!" Like, there's atoms? Like,
Yeah.
you know, like
Yeah.
we really were like, didn't believe that germs
We're like,
existed.
oh, that disease was actually a tiny bacteria. I thought
microbe?
it was a horrible, evil spirit.
Yeah, and literally there were people scientists who started saying that, and people would like think they were bad people.
Yeah, they thought they were like literally like witches.
Lying.
Like,
or they
early
would
on.
be like, you're wrong. There's no such thing as germs in the air. Just like floating.
And they would
around.
honestly be hated, like depending on the
Yeah.
different part of science. Like when people started to like figure out like even microorganisms, it's like they were shunned from society
because it was like such huge changes in
wild.
society. And I'm
Yeah.
not saying that the people who believe, like, it's not scientists who are being like aliens are real and no
Yeah,
one's listening.
yeah.
It's like that is happening with climate change.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
just think that there is a place.
Oh
where,
my god! It's like if you're gonna fucking believe in aliens,
Yeah.
please at least believe in climate change.
Yeah.
we have the science and.
Anyway, I feel like I could talk about it forever.
Yeah, this was great. I love this, and I really want you to make a video on. I'm saying now, so audience
just don't know
watching.
how.
No, you do. You're really passionate, and you have so much information, and it was really interesting to hear all those things.
But it's so much because it's just like.
But that's what
real. How
but
do you talk about something that's maybe not
you
real?
just did. We just did. It's like you like explain all the parameters, and you give people the ability to understand where we're at, and that there is unknowns. Like you literally just did it.
Okay.
Yeah, I just. Anyway, it's okay. So, like if it never comes out, you now know that we didn't do it, but I think it's a great idea.
How many times have you said that? Okay, well, thank you for listening.
Yeah, make sure you subscribe, leave a comment.
And who knows? Maybe an alien's listening to this. Okay, bye.